Hello, this is Ed Hamler with your World in Review. Christmas Eve has arrived, and along with it, a global situation just as demanding of leadership, if not more, than when George Washington, on this day, expressed that principle, leading the American soldiers across the Delaware River in a sneak attack on the Hessians, driving them out in a decisive battle, eventually winning the entire war against the British Empire for our independence. Now we're here almost 250 years later, facing the same challenge of leadership. The global enemy today is the British monetary empire, typified by their inter-alpha group of banks, the same inter-alpha group, which is completely bankrupt and demanding that nations around the world, including our own, cede their sovereignty to bail out that bankrupt imperial system. Upon reflection of this historic day, the question for the United States is, will we defend this nation whose foundation was based on the kinds of sacrifices made by Washington and others, based on wiping out the tyranny of empire, or will we submit to that tyranny at the hand of the traitors among us like Obama and the Rand Paul Republicans? We, the American people, are under attack by agents of a foreign power, and now is the time to fight. We must have a firm resolve, just as Washington did, to defeat the British and their cronies in the United States, whose policies right now are intended to dissolve the entirety of our United States. If we don't defeat them, there will be no United States. Here's what I mean. While the Federal Reserve has made it their clear expressed intention to bail out the British inter-alpha group of banks, whose demands for bailout in Europe have created a situation there over the very question of nation sovereignty versus private interest. Remember, this evening we reported on the remarks by the Greek Orthodox Church, which distributed a leaflet denouncing the Greek government as putting the nation under the occupation of the European Union and the IMF, which they demand should return to full sovereignty. As Lyndon LaRouche pointed out yesterday, the entire European monetary system is dead. It's a dead man walking, and nothing they're currently proposing will solve the crisis. But if Europe is a dead man walking, then the United States looks like it's following it into the grave. The Fed and its QE 1, 2, and 3 policies has thrust the United States into a hyperinflationary mode. And what's worse is that the president and his new assortment of Republican congressmen have decided that the dissolution of the Union is what's next on the agenda for next year. This intent is crystal clear from an article that was published in various places called Let the States Go Bankrupt, written by Rand Paul's mentor, Grover Norquist, and Patrick Gleason of Americans for Tax Reform, whose organization Rand Paul founded the Kentucky chapter. Here's what they want to do. They say that a law should be introduced that allows states to go into bankruptcy. The pretext of this is the same thing that Obama gave you for his Nazi health reform, or even the most recent tax cut for the rich. They say there's too much debt and we're overspending on the things that people actually need, like Medicaid and pensions, for example. Now, while it is true that most of the states of the Union are up to their elbows in debt, we have to ask the obvious question why bankruptcy is the weapon of choice for these traitors, knowing full well that it's a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Another fascist, Michael Barone, sums up the argument. The threat of bankruptcy would put a powerful weapon in the hands of governors and legislatures. They can tell their unions that they have to accept cuts now or face a much more dire fate in bankruptcy court. So what they're essentially saying is let the states go bankrupt so that when we reorganize the debt according to free market standards, we will dump all the pensions, dump all the Medicaid, and all other obligations to state workers and state programs, all for the sake of getting a nice credit rating. Like a nation that needs permission to execute its responsibilities and has to meet conditionalities to get a loan from an institution like the IMF or the ECB. In short, they want to turn us into debt slaves. This plan comes just a week after the Bush League Obama tax cut to the rich, which has the majority of the American people in a justified rage. This tax cut, on top of all the other destructive things Obama has done, has lit a fuse that at any moment could explode. Our LaRouche PAC organizers have been on the ground all week talking to an increasingly disenfranchised American people who now view Obama as just another Republican politician.
I believe that the new tax cuts that are coming into effect in January will be unfair for us as a working middle class.
Hate it. Hate it.
They need to be paying more taxes.
Yeah, out of Wall Street.
Instead of a cut, they need to pay more taxes to help us who's poor, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I have friends, probably twice your age, who are on basic health, you know, who are on Social Security, Medicaid, and they're being cut.
Completely against it.
Okay.
And I think that our president has become a Republican, and you know that's what it seems like.
Okay.
And now things are going along smoothly because we're all Republicans now.
I mean, I thought it was supposed to get better once Obama got in there. Jesus.
LaRouche Democrats have also been on the scene as the needed leadership in the population that can turn this rage into a fighting chance to defeat this fascism. The fascism coming from Obama and the response to it by the American people have been met with resolute declarations of the real solution by Summer Shields, Rachel Brown, and Keisha Rogers today, which serves as our marching orders. Summer Shields says, "The people need to know that their rage is justified and understandable. The LaRouche PAC, the 3, and now the 6 LaRouche Democrat candidates warned you what Obama's true nature was, and now the truth is coming out for you to see. What is being decided on the state level, especially in California, but in all the states like New Jersey, when the state legislature is meeting, they're deciding who they are going to kill and who will survive. That will be the policy until we go with the state relief as Franklin Roosevelt did. The initial policy has to be Glass-Steagall. Anyone ready for a shift in policy, and not just a campaign, should join our fight for immediate implementation of Glass-Steagall and emergency state relief." As for the crisis in California, Summer said, "Arnold Schwarzenegger is a sex maniac, and he should leave office before January and take Obama with him." Here's what Rachel Brown had to say. "The current state of our national economy and the inhuman reaction of our federal government to the catastrophic social breakdown is why Obama has to go. Glass-Steagall must be reinstated now, or there is no hope for any city or state in the country. Our slate of 6 LaRouche Democrats is not going to give up the fight for these policy solutions and will demonstrate to individuals in government, both state and federal, what it means to stand up for our constituency." And finally, here's what Keisha Rogers had to say. "Now is the time to fight. Anyone who is still holding on to the coattails of this fascist president and not taking on solutions we put forward are going along with fascism and insanity. What is most important for people to know is there is still optimism, still a solution. It comes with backing up the fight being waged and backing the solutions being put forth by the 6 LaRouche Democrats. Without us, there is no chance of the nation surviving because we represent the alternative to this dark age crisis. What is most important is people need to fight for a solution, and we have that solution." So the point is that Obama and company are trying to dissolve the Constitution and the Union. There's nothing in their argument that needs to be refuted. It's obvious what they're doing. They're calling for the dissolution of our Union and the federal Constitution. Plain and simple. What we know from our first Treasury Secretary, Alexander Hamilton, on the other hand, is that the federal government and the Congress has the power under our national banking standard, or what is in fact the Glass-Steagall system in modern times, to run an immediate rescue of the bankrupt states, as all our states were bankrupt after the Revolutionary War. The Congress has the power to write legislation and issue credit for the purpose of building up the physical economic power of the nation, which means states become productive, not bankrupt. This is what we propose now under the banner of a North American Water and Power Alliance program, which will create 4 to 6 million jobs in just weeks once the program is fully off the ground. The problem today is that we have a fascist president and a fascist crew in the Congress, typified by Norquist's cohort, Rand Paul. And on the Democratic side, you have cowards who won't invoke the authority of Hamilton or of Franklin Roosevelt to say you will not dissolve the Constitution. What we're saying at the LaRouche PAC and the LaRouche Democrats is that we have the authority given to us in that document to get us out of this crisis. And without that authority that you, Obama and Congress, are treasonably undermining, we will be a captive nation to an international grouping of financial interests, just like Europe. So shut up. We're taking over. Stay tuned to LaRouchePAC.com for more. We will still be fighting through the weekend. You'll see on this site tomorrow a new Christmas Day statement by Lyndon LaRouche and a feature on the true history of the Tea Party. So make sure you visit the site tomorrow. Also, watch for the campaign show this Sunday, where the 3 new LaRouche Democrats, Dan Sayer, David Christie, and Bill Roberts, will announce their candidacy for Congress. Merry Christmas, and if Santa does not bless you with what you wanted this Christmas, blame Obama and the Republicans, because everyone knows that Santa is Union. This is Ed Hamler signing off. Good night.